You're doing all the work, but for some reason, you're still stuck. Why? Well, it's because you're trying to heal your past instead of become your future. My name is Peter Abundant, aka Dr. Abundant, PhD, ordained minister of metaphysical sciences. I'm also the author of The Future Self Frequency. Now, when it comes to going into the past, we have to be mindful because one of our most infamous spiritual traps is really getting caught up in, being told that healing is the key to moving forward. Makes sense, doesn't it? It does. And I'm not saying that to a degree this isn't true, So you follow this logic, you follow this teaching, you do all the work, you do the journaling, you do the meditations, you pull the cards, you do tarot, you dive deep into your wounds, right? Into those scars, into that trauma. But you're still stuck in the same patterns. Do you think you haven't done it enough? I think not. I think you've done enough of going into those wounds and into that trauma and recognizing what it is that's going on as to why you're doing a particular thing and maybe perhaps processing how you can move beyond it, right? How you can get past it. Most spiritual advice focuses on fixing the past. And, that can quietly trap you in an infinite loop where you just feel like you're constantly dealing with the past. And then the past becomes something that continues to haunt you, continues to be an issue for you. And each moment that passes, each moment that you are in, that you live through, becomes a moment that's more wasted on the past rather than focusing on and walking toward a future, the future that you desire. So you have to be mindful about healing. Healing must have the intention of evolving, not the intention of attaching yourself, your identity, your consciousness to what happened before. Now, this isn't to say that what happened before is not significant, that it's not important to do the work, to get into the shadow work, right? It is. But what I am really insisting that you understand is that attaching yourself, your identity to what happened, introducing yourself, communicating to other people what has happened to you in the past, as if it is you, is the problem. You keep trying to solve what already happened instead of stepping into what's possible. You see? Doesn't that make more sense to let go of what already happened? Yes, gain some clarity, some perspective, and of course, wisdom. That's very important. But once you have gained that wisdom, that insight, then you must direct it toward the possibility, the potential, your desire, what's in your heart that you seek to achieve, to create, to experience. That is the mission, because it is the experiences that is actually going to lead you to the truth, which is understanding who you are, which is understanding that you are a creator of your reality, the creator of this universe, your universe. And so if you're always focused on what hurt you, right, then what you're doing is you unconsciously keep building your identity around pain. And we know that anything that we put our attention towards, right, we give it power, we give it strength, we give it essentially the direction that our life is going to go. So you always have to be mindful about what are you putting your attention toward. Is it toward negativity, right? Is it toward productivity, positivity? Is it toward the past, or is it toward the now and the future? Think about it this way. As we are in this very moment. And though we are infinite beings and time is not a real thing when it comes to consciousness, but because we are also living in this physical realm, we have to respect and acknowledge what time is, because time is a law of this physical reality. So you have to recognize that within this realm, you have to honor that law to a degree. You cannot physically go back in time, right? So you cannot physically take all aspects of who you are right now and go back in time. That is not the natural direction of this journey. The journey in its natural direction is forward. Now, how you move forward is infinite, but ultimately it is forward moving. And so you don't want to waste this time that is precious in this realm thinking about something that already happened and that can never, ever happen again. You want to focus on being in the present moment, and that present moment will cultivate a beautiful future moving forward. That present moment will cultivate a beautiful present moments coming after. You see, you're always in the present moment. This is a fact. But you get to control the next moment as you focus on this current moment and how you focus on this current moment. You know, your growth, it feels slow. And this is why your manifestations don't feel natural, because you're really thinking about things from a space of, if I fix the past, right? If I focus on the hurt, it essentially, think about how we experience pain, or we experience something that isn't ideal, unpleasurable, that is just torture, whether it be waiting at the mechanic office for hours on end for your car, a doctor's appointment, a surgery, actual physical pain. What does time feel like? Feels like it's slow. Feels like it's slowing down, Now, think about when you are materializing things. Those things overlap with one another. So are you experiencing life from the perspective of constantly thinking about the pain that you went through, the hurt? That is going to slow down the progression of your materialization. Is going to slow down the growth of that materialization, of that desire that you have for yourself, of your purpose, your destiny, your legacy. I'm not just talking about the small things that we want to materialize in life, the nice car, the nice house, even the millions of dollars. I'm talking about actual purpose, right? The actual desire of fulfillment, of success. When you really focus in on low vibration experiences and energy, okay, what that does is it makes things more dense. Low frequency, low vibration means it is a density. It is more heavy. It slows down time. But if you are in a space where you are feeling positive, joyful, happy, what does time feel like then? Feels like it speeds up. Feels like time moves faster. Why? Because those positive emotions accelerate the experience. You see, they accelerate your ability to materialize. You are materializing more and more things when you are in a positive vibration or frequency. In order to materialize more things in this physical world, time has to move forward. So your materialization and time, in a sense, go hand in hand. As you are materializing, time is moving faster. You see? So though you may not recognize a good time with your friends or family or your significant other, you may not recognize those things as, moments of materialization, because they may not be physical things that you're creating, but they are experiences. And that's ultimately what consciousness wants. It wants experiences. That is what you want. That's why you feel more fulfilled and happy in those moments when things are more engaged. That is what you're materializing. The experiences of love, of connection, of engagement, of life. You see? So the truth is, you don't manifest from wounds. As much as a lot of people want to think so, they think that, negative vibrations and energy fuels them, that it triggers them, that they use that negative vibration to actually create. Now, you can use it to inspire, you can use it to trigger you to get things rolling, but it's not sustainable for long-term success and fulfillment. This is why a lot of people who are quote unquote physically, right, successful when it comes to money and finances often still carry a weight with them. They are unhappy, right? They are depressed. It is because they continued on with holding on, right? They continued the progression of starting from a place of negativity, trying to maybe prove people wrong, doing something in order to prove that their ex was wrong about them, that the haters online were wrong about them. So they just keep moving forward in that way. And then they get successful. They reach the goal, the tangible goal, the measurable goal. But yet the part of them that is infinite, that is intangible, is still not feeling satisfaction, not feeling fulfillment, not feeling joy, not feeling bliss. It's because they kept holding on to that dense energy. But a lot of times you can look at other people who have started that way. They have gone through a lot of, trials, difficulties, challenges. And then something wakes up, right? They recognize something and then they let all that go. And then they recognize, wait a minute, life is not about that. Life is about letting go of that and embracing the moment, embracing the gift of life, the gift of love, happiness, joy. You see? So you have to understand, you do not manifest from your wounds. You manifest from who you believe you are. It is about recognizing your future self. It is about connecting with the understanding that these ideas, these passions, these desires are in fact echoes coming from, right, the future back to you in order to lead you to the truth. So I'm not saying you skip the shadow work, okay? What I'm saying is that you do it intentionally to focus on what it is you're creating for yourself. A lot of people are obsessed with things like shadow work. That's all they do. That's all they talk about, right? That's all they focus on. The issue is you can never go truly back there. You can go back in terms of remembering what happened, processing from a more empowered point of view, but you can never live there again. You can never truly, fully experience that again. That is over. But what's available to you is now, this moment, and the future moving forward. And the future, especially your desired future self, that version of you that you see is fulfilled, happy, deeply connected with the universe, with consciousness, is calling to you. So you have to recognize that your future, it isn't created by endlessly processing your past. You see, it's created by practicing the emotional frequency of your next self, that next level, but at this very moment. That's where it gets interesting. You start to recognize that now is the future and the future is now. The past is only a reference point of deeper understandings, perspective, insight, wisdom. And wisdom is beautiful. But even with wisdom, you learn that the wisest thing to do is let go of the past. You see? So what happens is you need to make a shift. And that shift is simply recognizing how to break free. Stop doing shadow work as a lifestyle. What has happened in the past doesn't necessarily change. You can change your perspective of it. You can change your insight. You can change how you view it, but it doesn't change. And it doesn't change what is going to potentially happen for you in the future. It is only now that you get to do that, you know? So shadow work, you do it as a form of a reset, but not a residence, right? You don't stay with it. You start thinking like your future self. That is the key. Because ultimately, that's where you're going. That's where we are all going, you know? So you start thinking, what decisions would they make today? Your future self. How would they eat? How would they sleep? How would they communicate? What things are your future self studying? You know, your future self, trust me, is not still studying shadow work, you know, or past or trauma or how to deal with triggers. Your future self has already evolved beyond that. So it's important when it comes to manifestation 101 is focus on what you desire, not what you don't desire. Okay? So simply put, only focus on what you desire. What do you desire? Do you desire what happened in the past? You desire something beautiful in your present and in your future. The present determines the future. So you must stay focused and intentional about what you're doing now, moving forward, because that is the only direction you're going. So you have to stay with that mindset. Okay? Speak and act like your transformation has already happened, rather than identifying what has already happened in the past. You see, you're essentially bridging the gap between, quote unquote, the future self and the now. You're recognizing that you are an infinite being, you are consciousness, right? On a spiritual level, time is not linear. And so you can connect the past and the present. I'm sorry, you can connect the future and the present. Sorry about that. The future and the present become one when you practice certain techniques, even a simple technique like imagining, visualizing, affirmations. Those things are dialing in to the frequency of your future. They are shifting you. They are creating a space for you to change the trajectory or control the trajectory of your life. So, learn from the past, gain wisdom from the past, right? Build your vision more than analyzing your wounds. Get clarity and really focus on the movement forward, not what happened in the past, not the direction backwards, because you cannot go there, you know? And the reward of all of this is what happens is when you lead, right, with vision, you feel more free. You feel lighter. Why? Because again, getting into the frequency of negativity, it's heavy, it's dense. If you continue to move forward and you continue to be in the moment, you feel lighter, because that, simply put, if you compare the future, the past, and you think about it in terms of the contrast or the duality of the universe, you see that, okay, one is dark, one is light, right? The past will be dark. right? The future is bright. That's why that expression exists. So you want to be mindful of the contrast and how they express themselves in your life. And so you want to keep moving forward so that way you are lighter, you are more free because the possibilities are endless, they're infinite. Whereas the past, there is no infinite possibilities there. There is just simply what happened. The only chance of anything being infinite is how you view what happened. But keep looking back at that serves you on a small level, but not on a big scheme of things when it comes to moving forward and creating the life that you want. You see, the more you step into your future identity, the more the past loses its grip on you. So you have to continue to visualize what's next. Visualize what it is that you desire, what it is that you're going to create. You see, that's the beauty of the imagination. Neville Goddard often references the imagination as God. That is your creative force, your creative power that creates all things. And so I invite you to practice that and connect with the understanding that your imagination, your hopes, your dreams, your desires, your passions, they all ultimately simply lead you to the future. That is the key, you know? So it's important to think about it as, you don't heal to become your future self. You simply become your future self and heal as a byproduct. That's what I want you to understand. Focus on your future self and what it is that you wish for yourself. Yeah, you can reference to a degree. You can say, okay, you have to have an experience of what you don't want in order to understand what you do want. Great. I give you that. That's maybe like 5-10% of the entire journey. Now that you're clear about what you want, the future, then you need to be dialed in, focused, intentional, and on purpose with creating the future that you want. So let go of the past. Recognize that the future happens the way you want when you're focused on it now. Thank you so much. Feel free to share this, please, with somebody who is stuck in the healing loop. And just simply remind them that it's time to stop identifying with wounds and start embodying the version of you who is already free. Thank you so much. Feel free. Go to drabundant.com. Oh, I keep forgetting. Feel free, please. I invite you, go to thefutureselffrequency.com, purchase the Future Self Frequency and the My Future Self Journal. If you would like, subscribe to my website, my newsletter at drabundant.com. You will get the first chapter of the Future Self Frequency, the Deluxe Transformation Edition. That way, you just know how good it is and how much it's going to actually absolutely impact your life for the better. Thank you so much. Peace and abundance always.
I've never been the type to chase hype. I don't do trends. I don't believe in quick fixes, but I do believe in truth. And the Future Self Frequency met me with truth I couldn't ignore. This wasn't about manifesting things for the sake of it. It wasn't about pretending to be happy or spiritual or successful. It was about alignment. Quiet, consistent alignment with the version of me I had buried under years of survival and responsibility. Reading this book wasn't a rush. It was a return to clarity, to intention, to peace. I didn't need another motivational speech. I needed a reminder of who I really am. That's what this book gave me. And the journal? It's now a part of my morning routine. Simple, direct, sacred. Writing to my future self changed the way I make decisions. It made the invisible visible. I'm not here to convince anyone, but if you're ready to lead yourself instead of waiting to be rescued, read the book, use the journal, and start showing up like the future you is already here, because she is.